Test it now. Okay, now you should get it in about a few seconds. When the latency catches up, you should start hearing me talking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Somebody else say something.
Hey,
This
I.
is Matthew, and I'm talking at the same time as Josh.
You were.
You should be able to hear my
Yes.
voice.
Test it now. Okay, now you should get it in about a few seconds.
Just
When the great latency catches up, you should start hearing me talking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's me doing Twitch.
12
Sorry.
layers of audio right now.
Somebody doesn't have headphones on.
No, yeah, well, I don't. But that was also my Twitch streaming through the computer, which you were hearing because it was catching up.
In a few seconds, when you catch up, is what I just heard. I can hear me talking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Let's do it. We are about
Somebody
ready
else
now.
say something. Hey, it is
Video went away. Hey, Sir Robert, if resolution is an issue, it might be good to not have the forest video going. I don't know.
Sure.
Right now, the forest video is like 4 frames a second.
Okay.
On the Twitch stream.
I will transition that out and just leave it black for now. I will zoom us in so that we are a larger part of the plot. Just kidding.
I forgot to bring headphones, so I have no way of shutting out whatever driving background noise you guys hear. I'll just cross my fingers.
Hearing anything.
Yeah, it won't. It'll probably not encounter us at all. Aaron and Troy.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything yet.
Sweet.
Okay, you guys ready? Let me pull us in. I've got us transitioned. I've got one more thing, which is I have to turn on. Shoot, all my controls are switched around to their default places. Start the virtual camera. There it is. And all right. Start the OBS virtual camera, which will look almost the same for most of you. And I'm gonna... Great.
It's like Tony the Tiger.
That's right. And last but least, let's put in my video capture device, which is the camera that will look at me. So that people
can see your beautiful face.
See something. There we go.
It's like Josh is casting a spell over there.
Josh, you might be muted.
I am muted.
Nice. Okay, let's get into the show.
I'm ready. I'm ready, and I'm pumped.
I don't need studio mode today, so I'm going to keep that off.
Having that clip is either the world's most accessible, public, uncopyrightable IP, or the second you quote it like you're toast.
Which one? What? What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The like standard Jock Jams tune.
Ah.
Oh.
I don't know it.
Never mind.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
You're talking about Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitter.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that's what that was.
Okay. Let's do about 3 seconds of silence for easy clipping in the post, and then I will read the boilerplate. This is The Dying of the Light, Season 3 of the Starfall Collective. The Starfall Collective is a collaborative storytelling group using the Dungeons & Dragons game system as a vehicle for creating rich and compelling stories in a fictional world that we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective as well as the stories we're telling at the starfallcollective.com. We are back with a new episode. Let's find out who's in this episode. I am Sir Robert Burbridge, a father and entrepreneur and a free man trapped in the body of a slave. I am the host of this season's story. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. Let's introduce you, say a little bit about yourself if you like, and something that you think is interesting about the backstory of your character. One tidbit, if you like, to kind of get us a feel for some of the behind-the-scenes motivations of your psyche, your character psyche. We'll go back to the front for those looking on the stream. Why don't we start with Josh?
So my name is Josh Stewich, and I play Gulb, the orc cleric. He was raised from a very young age. He was given by his parents to the kind of priest slash shaman of the tribe, who was a devotee and a teacher of the ways and principles of the storm god. And so Gulb was raised by this man, and just as he was coming of age, and literally within like matter of months, he was going to be finally initiated and called as a junior cleric of the storm for the tribe. That's when his tribe was wiped out and he had to flee. So that's where he's coming from.
And because we have a very special episode of The Dying of the Light, I'm just going to do a quick narrative of how we met each character as a reminder for those listening on the stream or for those listening later. Gulb, we met when Diamondback, Belvari, and Yoshka and Davina were holing up in a tree, trying to make things safe for the night after the recent loss of their friend Sleen, their new acquaintance Sleen. And Gulb is an orc who was running from a huge feral wild boar through the forest, and they went in and jumped in and rescued Gulb, especially Davina, saved his life, and Gulb joined the party, trying to make his way through this world. Jared, why don't you go next?
Hey, I'm Jared. I am playing Yoshka. He is he is a gypsy wayfarer, which is one of the few roaming people in this world, kind of the merchants who go from little hamlet to hamlet. And he got separated from his family. And let's see, something interesting, I suppose, would be he's used to being something of a free spirit and always kind of running away when trouble came. But for the first time in his life, he's kind of has this focused aim to get back home to his roaming grounds. And how would I say? I guess because of that, he has become not like the free spirit, but as the quote unquote leader of the group, he's never felt more like a nagging mother.
All right. He is the de facto leader for sure. Even though there was not any kind of election held, nor any kind of fight for dominance, he has definitely ended up steering the ship, as it were. And that especially happened after the death of Sleen, when Diamondback wanted to go back to the town of, I believe it was Garoda, and wanted to get vengeance upon them for what he perceives as a betrayal and the cause of the death of Sleen. He wanted to go immediately back to the town, but Yoshka jumped in and used his persuasive abilities as a bard to encourage Diamondback to a plan that Yoshka thought was certainly less lethal to Diamondback. And that plan was to go north to a town.
Failing that, I actually ended up using my deceptive ability.
What's the difference?
Just lie to me.
Tomato, potato. So, so then they went off, and Yoshka has been the de facto leader since. He is leading the team. He is mentioned only briefly here and there, but he is leading them to a town that he knows of that is safe from the Iron Bell. That would actually be an interesting one to have some side private conversations with today, Jared, if that was something where you felt like occasional bits could slip. I don't mean slip, but if those are conversations you're interested in talking about. So
yeah.
Okay, and we met him in the aforementioned town of Garoda when Diamondback and Sleene came into town, and not having enough people risk their lives, they thought they'd gather a few more. The two they gathered were, I'm just joking, the two they gathered were Yoshka and Davina, who were friends and had been staying in that town for about a week when they got accidentally embroiled in the same heated exchange that Diamondback and Sleene were embroiled in. And then they made their way out together. Neno, Aaron Joy, why don't we go with you next?
All right. I'm Aaron Joy. I'm based in Durham, and I am playing Neno, or Mima, or Nini. She's not picky. She's a forest gnome, and they know that names are flexible things. She's 70 or 80, maybe. She's not really sure. After a lifetime of service to her community, she just a few days ago was evicted from her home community and made her way to pretty much the next town she could find, and almost immediately got wrapped up with this crew that was leaving that town. Better to be wrapped up with a crew than not. And she couldn't have stayed in that town anyway, so here she is. You'd think at that point that maybe she would have a lot of hostility toward her hometown. She actually has way more hostility to the Iron Bell because she's been cultivating that hostility for literally decades, since some stuff from her early life.
Okay. And Neno is the newest member of the band we have here. She, as a forest gnome, as Aaron Joy said, is a bit older than the rest of these guys, but is still not old for a forest gnome. She's survived a long time, which that is coming to an unnatural end, is a very natural end for the people living in this forest. But she has not yet. She does have the one interesting characteristic, which is that she mentioned, which is unlike almost everyone else whose primary and natural predators in the forest are the Iron Bell, the creatures of the forest, or the war-making members of another town. Neno is actually booted from her town by her own people. She's evicted, right? And that's an unusual thing, because there's a certain sort of camaraderie among kin in this kind of situation. Dwight, why don't we see what's going on with you and Belvari next?
Belvari is a young man who was living with his parents out in the woods, and he's realizing more and more that his parents were really good at finding places to sleep, and these people that he is currently traveling with are not very good at that. He's also learning about...
Hey, I thought that was a solid push.
Well, Belvari wasn't there for that, but y'all do talk about it a lot.
Gulp walked to the edge of the clearing, took one look at it, and just turned and walked off.
And I don't know what that means, but also he is used to everything being a lot quieter than this group is. They seem to enjoy attracting the attention of everyone that we walk past. And yeah, so he's learning about that. He he's only about 16, and usually the group that he lives with sends their kids out when they turn 18. He's not really sure why he has been sent out on his own, but it wasn't tragic that he knows of or unplanned. Maybe he's assuming there's some sort of plan that he just didn't get the memo for, because they don't send memos because that's illegal.
Fair enough. And Belvari is another interesting case, somewhat like Neno, except unlike her, she was not. Belvari was not evicted. He was. His people culturally are voluntary exiles at a coming of age.
Yeah, actually, Belvari, the first town he's ever been in was that last one, whatever it's called.
Great. Yeah, the previous town, the Basket Town.
Yeah, Basket Town.
Yep.
He was thinking it was protected from the Iron Bell, but it apparently was not. I mean, it's sort of protected.
Sure. I mean, there's protection and there's protection, and never the twain shall meet.
Yeah.
All right. And Diamondback, why don't we go with you next?
Hi, my name is Matthew Talamini. I'm a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island, and you can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew, TALAMINI.com. I play the shirtless wizard Diamondback. An interesting part about his backstory is that his grandfather was brought back from the dead.
And his group is, tell me this, actually, I don't know this for sure. Is Diamondback the necromancy line in his, not line, but school or whatever in his village, or they all were necromancy focused?
The whole village is a school of practices necromantic magic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Diamondback, your kung fu necromancy has availed you for the last time.
Exactly. It's a point of pride, and sort of like when he was training with the other kids, he was the cool kid because his grandfather had actually had these necromantic practices done to him.
No way, Diamondback. There's no way your grandfather actually come back from the dead. You are a liar.
Diamondback had all the chops to be emo without a haircut. That's great. Okay, so let's get to where we are. I mentioned in the intro bit, for those of you listening and on the edge of your seats, that this is a very special episode. We don't have any special guests like Salil Moonfry or anybody like that, but we will have other sorts of intrigue coming from these characters, and that's not a jab, by the way, Salil Moonfry. In case you're listening, I think you did a great job with your whole career. I think it's great. For those of you listening, we are missing one of our new characters. Last week, right at the end of the episode, we got to a position where we could meet a new character named Splint. I'm not going to tell you too much about him right now. That's right, Gulb.
What's going on?
That is very like what we heard last week.
And you'll recall, that's right, Josh. You'll recall that Splint was
confused.
Splint was a very, very bad flute player, like sort of panpipe player. He was playing out into the wilderness. You heard that. You guys heard that. So one of the things we're doing is, because he couldn't make it here today, and he's we don't want to skip past his introduction to the storyline. We are doing a Remember episode. This is one of those episodes where it's not necessarily Remember. It could be the future, the past. Doesn't matter what. It's somewhere. We'll figure out where it goes. What's that?
A clip show.
That's right. That's what it is. Thank you. A clip show. We're doing a clip show. And we might have an occasional type of deal. helping us to remember Wayne and Garth, who were also trapped in this forest in their own souls. So here's how the structure is going to go. That's right. Here's how the structure is going to go for tonight. Since this is a clip show, we're going to do a series of clips. We don't have a time limit for the clips, but we do want to give everybody a chance to have some good, interesting conversations. These are, as Aaron Joy put it, B-roll style filler bits that tell us really interesting stuff. These might end up being on the web series only version. That's just a little bit of a joke because the whole thing's web series only. But we will have some way of interweaving these into the story so that those of you who...
There's going to be a novelization by Matthew Pellamini at some point.
So help me,
That's
when
right.
you sorry sons of Sax watch this on TV 15 years in the future, you are not getting this content. It is staying web only.
That's right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to set the scene. First of all, I'll take requests too. If one of you is like, ooh, I'd really like to talk to X about, Mike Diamondback would like to talk to Neno, for example. If that's a request, then, just let me know and we will let the current one wrap up and do yours. It can be a couple of minutes. It could be, 10 minutes of conversation. They can be larger groups too. It doesn't have to be one-on-one. It can be 2-on-2 or all of you together or whatever. So let's get started. I will set the scene for each one. These are scenes that either have happened or they will be generic and take place as you're walking, quote, as you're walking in the woods. They definitely do happen. Since we don't know when any of you are going to die, I don't know when any of you are going to die. They definitely do happen when you are together and alive, as far as you can tell. So those are the constraints of these dialogues. I do have one request, which is that you please refrain from making, this is for the players, please refrain from making continuity requirements. So please don't have a conversation with another person as the ghost of your person, though no one knows it yet. And then we have to figure out how to retcon if that comes out. More likely I would end up cutting it, but anyway, I don't think y'all will do that. And if you do, you'll pay for it. So,
and then Belvar just starts punching Gold right in the face.
That's right. That's right.
I'm utterly positive that this has happened off camera already.
Yeah. This is also another last thing I'm going to say about this. Well, first of all, one thing is, Josh, just in case I didn't say this, I don't know if I said this on stream or not, but I really appreciated seeing you a few weeks ago. I told you that in person, but I wanted to make sure I said it in front of everybody. Josh came through here and was going to a family reunion or whatever, and also asked if he could stop by and hang out with me and Jared a little bit and a couple people. And it was great. Thanks. We were glad to see you.
It's good to be with you guys.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to actually say very little aside from introducing or concluding a section. This will be one of the first times for that, so I'm going to be on camera, but I'm not going to say a whole lot. Though I will jump in if I hear continuity issues or you can't remember the name of something or something like that, and I will help. Mm-hmm. Help. In a sort of brown shirt way. All right. Let's start with, do we have any requests? Who would like to go first?
I think the whole thing was prompted by a kind of request of
Neno.
Aaron's.
Yeah, let's do that.
To get to know the characters on the way to
the
underground spring.
Can we come into this scene with an on-ramp, narrating from her perspective?
Yeah, that sounds good. And I'll let Aaron Aaron Joy, I'll let you narrate what you see as you join, not just see, but what happens from your perspective as you come up to the town of Miradau, which is where you met these guys. You come up to the town of Miradau. Here is the third-person optimistic view of things, and then I'll let y'all jump in and take it from there. So Diamondback, Belvari, Gulb, and Yoshka. And without Davina makes 4. They have just come out of the forest as they were leaving their tree hollow, and they had some terrible encounters with creatures like giant elk and so forth that were deadly. So they make their way through the forest and they come to the town of Miradau. Due to whatever reasons, some of them have one idea or another or none at all of what happened out there. They did not come at the same time. Belvari arrived several hours before Diamondback and Gulb. Diamondback and Gulb arrived several hours before Yoshka. And the four of them went into the town and were treated very well. They were welcomed into the town by all of the dozen-ish people, including Garriott, the town leader. He sent them on a mission, and the next day they had their first Iron Bell face-to-face encounter as a team, as a party, after which they began to be sent on their mission. But as Garriott was giving them a heads up on what was going to happen on the way to the special spring he was sending them to, there was a knock, as it were, a jingling of the bamboo chimes, and Neno was let into the front door of the town, given the same kind of welcome that these guys are given. It seems to be a pretty stably welcoming town. And Neno was welcomed in, told that while there is not room at the metaphorical inn here, there was safe haven for her in the way of these four capable, strapping young men, and they were about to leave on a mission, and their gain could also be her gain if she were to help them out. And there you go. Neno, why don't I have you start us off talking about anywhere along there you like. You could be from the perspective of, you knocked on the door of the town and here's what you saw, all the way to as late as, we got on the road and here's what I started saying. Go for it.
Okay. I'm in the town. I've just been welcomed in. Just a quick glance around at everyone I can see. Some of these people are not like the others. Garriott clearly belongs here. All the people who have clothing cut from the same bolt of cloth, they seem to be Garriott's people, but these other guys, they don't fit. There's the wiry, slightly greasy one who's not well clothed, who has kind of a frightening look in his eye, and his eyes are just darting all over the place all the time. There's nothing still about him. His eyes are in motion at every moment.
And is that soot or mascara?
Maybe it's Maybelline.
The tall one.
The one with enormous hairy legs sticking out of very short woolly hide shorts with a giant...
Interestingly, the bare legs are not what I noticed, because there was just fur everywhere. I thought he was fully clothed in fur, but it turns out that half of that fur was his own.
Great. He's turning into a Sasquatch. That's awesome.
I never thought of orcs that way.
He's the hairy kind. He's the incredibly hairy kind.
Or maybe just compared to where Nena came from.
Yeah.
She would love to get a feel for what what he's about, but honestly, it's really a little hard to see his facial expressions. She's got a really good view of the underside of his chin, but I can't tell what's going on in that eyebrow range. The one with the hat.
Sorry, and Aaron Joy.
Oh my, what a hat. Yes.
How tall does Neno stand?
At this point, she's in the city. She looks like she's about 3.5 feet tall.
Yeah, and Golb is
and
like
they're all in
right
a room.
at 7 foot. Yeah.
The one with the hat, Neno's first inclination, she loves fabric. She notices what he's wearing, but she can't even take a second look at what he's wearing because his face, he has the face of a 45-year-old father of 20 in a time of not enough food. This is a face bearing more weight than his shoulders were equipped to bear. And on a second glance, wait, is that another person? That is another person tucked over almost in the corner? No, it's a dog. No, it's a person and a dog. Oh my goodness, there's a kid just so quietly over there. You barely notice him.
Are you sure you can see me?
It's a good question.
You son of a gun.
So those are my first impressions.
I have an impression. I would like to nominate Aaron Joy for Dungeon Master.
Sorry, Sir Robert. This here's a mutiny.
Nonsense.
Works for me.
Just joking.
That was a beautiful, beautiful perspective on the character.
Assistant to the Dungeon Master.
I'll take it.
I'm just biding my time, waiting for my chance.
That's right.
So great. And y'all are... she meets you guys. It's very brief. Garriott is eager to get you on your way to rescue the young man Orden. For reasons that you don't know, he is being conspicuous, not conspicuous to you, not to let his grandmother Urella know that he's sending you. But he wants to get you out of the town and on your way because he has told you a couple of things. One is that Orden, the young man, he's a demi-halfling, is being held captive by Orcish slavers who he apparently keep a pen of slaves for when the Iron Bell comes to take their slaves, and they just use them as chattel to trade out for their own. That's one of the things Garriott has told you. The other thing Garriott has told you is that you better hurry because there's a false knight coming. And there was a brief discourse on false knights between Garriott and Neno, I think was the one who most understood, which was, and you know of this sort of vaguely, not through, there's not much lore about such things, but everybody's kind of slightly aware. Sometimes, for no reason that anybody that you know of knows, the forest some part of the forest will well up with extra magical mist, and it becomes black as night for some amount of time. That's why it's called a false night. And Garriott says, "Hey, you got about a week." He thinks 5, 6, 7 days. There's one coming, he claims, and you don't want to be caught out in that because you would have a night and a night and a night, and then maybe another night instead of night and day and night and day. So, y'all have set out on the road. It is the 4 of you plus now Neno, or if you prefer, it is Neno plus now the 4 of you. And y'all can introduce yourselves or talk about things like Davina and where the crud she went. So
I think we should do that one the night before.
That sounds good. That's at the table when you've all gotten to the city and are like, you've eaten your fill and are feeling a little stabilized. Okay, well, for right now, you are walking on your way. It is a day that...
Drunk at that point.
What's that?
Gulb's drunk at that point.
Yeah. It might be more cogent conversation then. I'm just kidding.
I can go get another beer and we can do that scene.
There you go.
I've got some bourbon in the cabinet.
The day now is as bright as the days get here, which is not bright, but it's what you're used to as bright day. And you are on the road. You've been walking for half an hour. You've gotten out of the town. You're getting adjusted. You each have... Gulb has his brand new armor from Garriott that is that little shimmer armor that he's enjoying. Belvari, you might be attuning to or kind of learning about your pendant of tree stride that you got. Diamondback has a new snake stick, a quarterstaff of the python. Yoshka has gotten this interesting iron ring, which is unusual because it's iron. It's metal. An iron ring that Garriott claims makes torches behave strangely. And Neno, he kind of last minute gave you a veil that he claims when you wear it in certain ways at certain times and certain things, you can see the magic of the forest. Okay, so you may want to talk about those things, you may want to talk about other things, but go for it.
So I would say the first thing that you notice is that Gulb falls back, and he seems to be in a bad mood. He's very focused on what he's doing, and he seems to have a comb in his hands that he's pulled out of a smaller pack that was attached to his pack. He's got a little stick, and he's like pulling hair out of the comb.
And as I remember, Yoshka kind of had already introduced himself to Neno and asked why she got kicked out of her village, and she gave some response that made Yoshka think, okay, don't ask about that. So then Yoshka kind of returned by just telling our story and saying, well, we are a bunch of refugees. I was bitten by an alligator up in the chilly north, in the hills. Last place who sees an alligator in the north? And separated from my family, and then met all them, and we've been trying to get home.
Where is home? Where is the home we're getting to?
Well, my people, my family and their and connected families, we are a roaming band, so we travel a 2-year route up in the north. It shouldn't be hard to find them. And Garrett, he knows of some close friends we can go see after this, once we rescue Orin.
Close friends of Garriott or close friends of you?
Orden.
Close friends of my parents.
Okay.
Have you heard of the Old Blood?
No.
You're not from the north then.
No. Lived my entire life in, well, we called it hometown, but I suppose we may need something more specific now.
Down south?
About a day from here.
Okay. Well, you will hear many different things about the Old Blood in these regions.
I'm going to jump Sorry, let me jump in for 1 sec. And south and north are colloquial ways of talking, but commonly used throughout the jungle are upstream and downstream, which is to say upstream is closer to the Iron Bell, downstream is closer to the terrible creature area. And most people don't actually know. It's not a meaningful question where they are in the forest, because the forest is all. There is nothing else.
Sun.
What's that?
We don't ever see the sun to know east and west and north and south.
There is no sky. There is no anything. There's the canopy above and the canopy above that, and there is the ground below and the great roots of the trees. And also, since the whole world is forest, there is nothing but forest. It's not exactly meaningful to talk in terms of your location in the forest. You're really only in location relative to some other things, like a nearby town. The one absolute that everyone knows, I guess it's two absolutes, it's a poll, is upstream is the Iron Bell. It's upstream of everyone, always. And downstream are the beasts. Downstream of everyone, always. You know that to one direction there's a river, to another direction there's a river, and that's about all you know. That's always true. It's always true. There's upstream is the Iron Bell, downstream is the beasts. Point upstream and go right. There's a river. Point upstream and go left. There's a river. That's what everybody lives in a box like that. Okay. Anyway, just to say, north and south still matter and all that. I'm not invalidating, but just to let you know, that's how the psychology is structured. I'm out.
Also, there are snakes.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So old people? No, not old people.
The Old Blood.
Blood.
Yes. you will hear many different stories about them around here. Some people think they are even, well, that doesn't matter. But
Mm.
I hope to meet them. I hope. Garriott says that he knows where they are staying, and he doesn't mean the place, their home. He means what people usually mean when they say that. They no one meets with them except for my father and his brothers. They will see no one, uh, but they send gifts to good villages like Garriott's to try to help.
Dungeon Master,
What's up?
overhearing
I think
overhearing this term, the old blood. Does Diamondback know anything about them? My village, the Snake Clan, did practice illegal lore.
I'm going to give you a very difficult DC history check. Extremely
Yes.
difficult. Because
I'm ready.
give me a second here. Let me think. Let me pull up your.
Listen, it's just a simple
No, you have to
load.
set the DC based on how hard it really is.
It's just a simple
Yeah, okay.
DC 42 check, and I'm sure that you've got the bonuses that you need to get there.
I have not pulled up
this
anything.
is 3.5.
Let me.
No, you can look at my sheet. That's fine.
No, let me see how hard it would be to know it. Give me a second.
I'm not gonna. You have the right.
Sure. I'm not insecure about that.
You have to fight for your right.
That's right. Okay.
All right.
I would like for
You
you to
also
roll
don't
me.
have to tell me what the DC is.
Say it again.
You don't have to tell me what the DC
Sure,
is.
sure. I would like for you to roll me a. Let's do a history check.
Here goes.
It's just the Big Bang Theory because he's about to check lore.
So that's an 18 plus 4 is 22 for Diamondback to know about the old blood.
You know nothing of it.
Okay.
However, you can feel free to, having overheard, ask, or you can pursue that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go silent again and let y'all continue.
Hey, Sir Robert, you may want to. Your keyboard's really loud, I think.
Okay, thanks.
So
that's what he bought
this
it for.
old blood, are they for us or against us or me?
Oh yes, they are. Oh, they are like what the Iron Bell should be. They are the benefactors of this region, and they work very hard to have extra, and they give it to the other villages. And when villages will fight, they stop giving to discourage fights. And when villages will take in refugees like Garion, they will give gifts. Did you see the barrel with the moss?
I didn't notice it.
Well, anyway, we will not go to their home. I have heard maybe 3 or 4 times they had requests to be met, and always it was they found a different cave, and the people who wanted to meet them came to this other place. And sometimes my uncle was there to give the gift they left.
I do hope we can connect with the old blood.
They will certainly help.
Okay.
I think Gulb starts kind of catching up a little bit, and you can see that he's dug a lot of hair out of a woman's brush, and he's taking this hair and he seems to be kind of like pulling it out and like folding it over and like trying to like get it down into like a thick little bundle. And then you see him like pull out some string, and you see him like he's got some sap, and he's like mixing some sap on the string, and he's like winding it around a little head or something.
Oh, what is this?
Doll.
There, Sonny.
Did somebody say something?
What are you working on there, Sonny?
Oh.
The doll of friend. We lost her. We must find her. I must remember. Cannot stop thinking. So.
And so he goes back. He's got out a little bone needle, and he's like tying this head to the body of a little. It looks like some rags that have been bundled up and knotted.
Diamondback might say something like to Belvari and Yoshka, especially if this is just after they've left town. He might say, Yoshka, Belvari, during your time with the Dryads, apart from Gulb and I, did you see Davina? Did they teleport her anywhere that you know of? They
What are you talking about?
transported us.
Gulb's attention is locked on them.
No, don't you remember how we talked last night?
Oh, did we?
And then the scene changes. They are back.
Let me set this scene. Let me set this scene for you.
I'm so glad you feast with all of you. You're good people.
So I'm going to set this scene for you, and it'll be. We will start. So just for continuity's sake, we will start. It is dusk, but you probably got another hour or so right until dark. Diamondback. I'm sorry. It's you've got several hours before dark. Diamondback and Gulb have just emerged out of a teleportation circle into this kind of cage crate thing. And though Gulb was more... no, I'm sorry. I got that in the wrong order. But Diamondback and Gulb went into the town, and then several hours later, it's about time for dusk, and Yoshka comes into the town relieved, knowing that he is the last surviving member of the crew. To his complete surprise, Belvari, Diamondback, and Gulb are already in the town, enjoying a nice dinner of some stew and being hosted by the members of this town. Just to set the stage for everybody, it is getting close to evening. This town is not large. The outer wall of it is woven of living plants and trees over time. Growing on them is all kinds of sort of lichen and moss and such. And it has the overall appearance of a weathered wicker basket. The whole town does. Because of that wall, it bulges in the middle and is very alive and organic. And wet in a good fireproofy way, fire-resistant way. They have gone into the town. All of the houses of the town, of which there are only a handful, about a dozen-ish, are low Riverstone-style houses with thatched roofs. Some of them are very small because some of the people in them are halflings or smaller creatures like that, gnomes, halflings type of creatures. And some of them are larger. There are some half-orcs and humans. They welcome Yoshka in and offer him... They say it's, something to the effect of, it's been a really busy day. We don't usually get this many different visitors. Yoshka, to his great surprise, comes into the center garden area that Urella, the gardener, the widow gardener, keeps up. And quite beautifully, too. And to his surprise, they're all having a communal dinner, which is normal to them. But Belvari, Diamondback, and Gulb are all there, already seated into their second course of stew, and Belvari has even, given a helping to his dog, I assume. Yoshka, why don't we pick up with you reacting? You have just had a frantic run from your encounter, just a wild fleeing from what happened before, and have finally gathered your wits about yourself after the demise of everyone you have known recently. But here they are before you, most of them. Why don't you go ahead and bring us into this and start the conversation?
His eyes go wide. What? You are alive, and you are already here? What? How did this happen?
I think Gulb sees him and kind of leaps over the table, and you see Gulb do the same thing that he just was doing a few seconds ago with somebody else, where he reaches his arm around them and then stands up at his full height where their feet are dangling off the ground, and he puts a drink in Yoshka's hand and he says, "My friend is alive!" And he throws one back, and you can see Gulb is already sauced. I mean, he's already not in full control of his physical presence. So, and you see, he's just ecstatic. He's just he's basically bringing you around and shaking you in front of people and going,
"This is my friend. I thought he was dead. He's not."
When he gets an instant away from Gulb's embrace, Diamondback will say to Yoshka, "We were teleported here by the Dryads. These villagers seem to be in league with the foul forest thieves, spirits. I'm not sure yet whether to trust them, but they seem peaceable so far."
Huh. That fits with their song. They did not sound evil.
You hear Gulb shout in the background,
"She'll be here any minute. Any minute now."
Keep going. What is this? Something that did not want to eat us. Strange. And where is Davina?
Gulb took her and threw her over the thorns, away from out of danger. Presumably, we could not see past the thorns to know whether she landed safely or whether she was able to escape the Dryads or any other dangers. We are hoping that if perhaps they're rounding up Gulb and I and Belvari and you, they will have gathered her in as well.
Well, and I guess I look out and see that it's twilight and say, we must search for her. Can we go check? It's getting dark. Gulb.
Actually, you know what? I take it back. Gulb retcon. Gulb does not say she'll be here in any minute. I think you just see Gulb saying, "Yeah, you see him saying, 'All my friends are here.'" I think he's just so drunk that in that moment he just fails his intelligence check and is just somehow he's not used to strong drink. He hasn't had any in a long time. And so I think it just really takes him out of it, and he just completely elides the idea into his mind that Davina is here.
Okay. Well, then...
But you can have that... I'm just saying, while you're having that conversation with Diamondback, the two of you look over, and you see not a care on Gulb's face. He's just drunk and happy and boisterous, and this... You immediately see evidence of why Belvari says that Gulb is so loud. His volume is just, it's up there on 8. and he's just, his voice is booming. And
Diamondback will respond. When I first came here, I was in a cage. I am not certain even yet that we have the freedom to move around as we will. And even if we did have that freedom, I don't know the way back to the place where the Thornwall and the Dryads attacked us. And night is beginning to fall. I think
if anyone looks at Belvari, they will notice that he's sort of listening and looks extremely confused.
I fear that searching for her will not have a good result.
If she is alive, can we just wait here? We can get torches. We can walk. I guess I would, at this point, I would turn to Garion and say...
Garriott.
And say, Garriott, surely you know these places. One of our friends is still out there.
Garriott, who is sitting at the table, and you may or may not have noticed, any of you individually, Gulb probably not, that he is interacting with everybody at the table, but he's definitely keeping an eye on the four of you to measure you. He doesn't seem to be, doing much with you, but he's keeping a watchful eye over his people and your strangers. But he hears you say that, and he's a little bit far away from you at this table. The table, seats a good 20 people. It's a communal food table, and he's a little bit far away from you. But he hears you say that, and he gets up off of his stool, and he kind of shuffles his portly halfling self over towards you with his cane, and comes over and he says, "Whoa. So, a friend of yours caught out in the woods."
Yes, she was with us when we came to the Dryads, but she has not come either with me or with them. Whoa. We were separated.
I'll tell you. Can you let? It's a dire thing, but it's getting dark. There's not much sense going out. But I'll tell you what I can do. If you tell me a little about her, I'll see if I can figure something out.
Well, she... then I'm actually going to have Aaron describe her. I don't remember ever hearing a description of her. Like her hair color, her physique. I remember she was an architect, but at this point I would describe what she physically looked like.
For the sake of continuity, do keep in mind, Gulb did say to this guy just before they left that he was looking for their friend and that he would scry for her. So he's going to say that in the future. I'm just...
Yeah.
Anyway,
thank you. Yeah, I remember that.
It might be best if Gulb were to give the description. I'm happy to.
Oh, no. I think you should, definitely. How does Gulb describe her? You know Gulb and you know Davina, so you have the strongest overlap.
True. Or how Yoshka would describe her, because y'all were good friends. You and Yoshka knew, Davina and Yoshka knew each other the longest.
Yeah. So
why don't you tell Yoshka, and then he'll describe her to Gary. Just a brief description.
Okay. So she was human. She was 22, 24-ish. Her inclination was to protect the younger people, so she was looking way more out for Belvari than he was comfortable with, I think.
And specifically any like distinctive physical traits, I would tell him, like curly hair or short and thin.
Gosh, I don't remember. She was healthy sized, and I think her clothes had lots of pockets. That's what I remember.
Okay.
Pants, not skirts. Always building things.
Did she have short hair or long hair?
So I don't remember how I described her before. I can make it up right now.
Yeah, it's no
long
problem.
enough to be pulled back in a ponytail.
And so Yoshka gives a good, solid description of his friend Davina to Garriott, who thanks him and says, "Well, let me see if I can figure something out. I got a few friends I could ask. Let me see what I can do." And he shuffles his somewhat portly frame stiff-leggedly off towards one of the little huts, one of the houses that you will later find out is his own home, and is gone for a little bit. He leaves you at the table doing that.
Okay.
And then we do.
So I guess this scene out would be Yoshka looking with a furrowed brow at Gulb, thinking about realizing he has no idea what's going on, and wondering if he would be a sad drunk or an angry drunk.
And Diamondback might make a pointed comment to Yoshka to the effect of, "It's not so pleasant when somebody else moves you around where they want you to go."
Oh! Ooh, did we just walk into a subway? Because that was a cold cut.
So
You're free to go your own way. I'm going home, and you don't have to come.
So do me a favor.
Vardy's just really confused about what's going on. None of this makes any sense to him.
I will roll for you, Aaron, but why don't you have the four of you roll me a perception check? Gulb with disadvantage.
I was just going to ask if I could do it with disadvantage and a -5. Nice. Good. I rolled an 18, but I also rolled a 5.
Okay.
So that's only a 10.
12.
5.
Oh, and I just rolled for Aaron, but I realized actually she's not here at this point. Yoshka, What did you roll?
A 5.
And Belvari?
11.
Diamondback?
12.
Okay. Belvari and Diamondback. You see Garriott, Yoshka and Gulb, you do not see this. You see Garriott shuffle out of his house. It's been a few minutes, and he comes out of his house, from behind his house, I should say, and he's got something in his hands, sort of big for him, and he shuffles over towards the front gate of the town, and he does something you can't quite detect, and then sends 2 birds that he apparently was holding in his hands, 2 sparrows or finches or some kind of small bird that was he was able to carry, and he tosses them up in the air, and they flutter for a few moments and then fly off in slightly different directions down the road, doing something. He then shuffles back over, and Yoshka and Gulb, you did not notice that, but he comes over and he pats Yoshka on the knee and says, "Well, young man, I'm asking about it. I'm looking into it for you, and I've got some friends who've gone out to search for a young lady of the description you gave, and if I find anything out, I'll tell you for sure."
Thank you very much. And if I can give you anything to help you do what you need to do, I will give you what I can.
Oh, tut, I've got it taken care of, but thank you so much. I think you best keep what you have for now. I've got what I need.
Thank you.
And so that'll end this scene, unless there's anything else pressing anybody wants to do. No? Okay.
Yoshka would just kind of wipe his face and then kind of forcefully put a big smile on, realizing he's surrounded by people, and then just engage.
Yeah.
With the kind of different tone of the night.
Yeah,
You see
turn on his
Gulb. You
bard.
see Gulb over in the corner, and there are 3 or 4 young halfling teenagers whom he is throwing up into the air. They're going like 20 feet up in the air, and then he's catching them. And then you see some woman, some mother of one of these teenage boys scream and like comes over and gets her finger up. And, you know, I don't know if they do that. You tell me, Sir Robert, if one of these moms of one of these boys sees what Gulb is doing, throwing their son high enough in the air that if he did not catch them, they would break their bones.
Yeah.
What do you, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that, but she does.
Okay.
She mothers don't, but this one did. No, absolutely. She comes over and gets her kids and rather forcefully tells them to go do their chores. Giving Gulb the stink eye.
Oh man.
Okay.
I think
Sorry, go
Gulb
ahead.
sits down and just grabs 2 big things and just starts kind of sipping back and forth.
Sure. 2 steins, wooden
Sure.
mugs. Is there anybody else? Belvari, go.
I guess now in the future, Belvari will not wonder about why no one remembered Divina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think Gulb yells in Orcish, "Shame on those who don't get drunk," and Belvari understands that. Right, because Belvari speaks Orc, right?
He does speak Orcish.
Yes. So
Right.
Gulb shouts in Orcish, "Shame on those who don't get drunk."
So we'll cut that scene up and we'll close the scene here. And it is now daytime. Tomorrow, the next day, y'all are walking again towards the spring. Matt, you had asked for some particular side conversations between you and one other, and then you and another other.
Yeah. I think that Diamondback, after leaving the village, a couple of things have happened. He's wearing a shirt now, and you'll see as we're going along the path, he's sort of plucking at the sleeves, kind of, and sort of wriggling a little bit, and finally he approaches Neno, and he says to her, "Excuse me, ma'am."
What's on your mind, son?
I couldn't help but notice you have a needle and thread about you.
And I couldn't help but notice that shirt does not fit you. Are you needing some help?
I think I would appreciate merely the loan of the needle and thread.
You're welcome to it. Here you go.
And
she digs it out, and then, to his surprise, I believe, says, "You look like a man who would like green thread. Am I right?"
I think that green will do nicely.
Passes him over.
And he takes off the shirt, and as he's walking, he's sort of experimenting with it, pulling at it different ways and trying it one way, and then he has it on like he's got like his leg through his pant leg like through the neck hole at one point. He's trying to get it on like upside down. It's a little ridiculous. And finally he says to Neno, "Is it how do you stand the sleeves? Does it not restrict the movement of the arms too much to have the sleeves attached?"
Well, there's a solution for that. And she takes the needle back and right quick does some smocking along what would be the shoulder seams if it were the kind of shirt that has shoulder seams.
What
So
he'd like
now
is much bigger sleeves, if possible.
Oh,
Listen, we're
well,
talking
she's working in the
Scarlet
opposite direction.
Pimpernel.
She just made some fake elastic right there for you. Okay.
We're talking
Um,
Scarlet Pimpernel puffy shoulder sleeves.
Of course,
Like-
that's okay.
Jerry Seinfeld foppish shirt.
So what I'm imagining is there's maybe a little bit of negotiation between Diamondback and Neno about like what he's looking for sartorially and how he wants to be able to move in battle. And there's some discussion of like, well, if I'm going to do the leftward crane position in order to cast a firebolt spell, then I'm going to need to assume this posture. And he'll be like demonstrating like martial arts postures from his village to her and like what kind of thing he needs from his garment. And I'm imagining, and maybe if you've ever seen like an anime where it's sort of a samurai inspired shirt where the character wears the shirt and it sort of crosses in front instead of like being held together by buttons or something. It sort of crosses a little bit like a kimono, and the there are sleeves, but the sleeves are just hanging there, and the character's like arms are actually inside of the shirt. I'm imagining that we sort of construct one of those type of shirts.
Oh gosh, I actually really want to actually sew this. Okay, I won't. But yes, Neno can totally help with this.
And then he's like, oh, and if I keep the sleeves empty, there's a possibility I could store additional components here and here. And he's like creating this sort of strategic, using the shirt in a very strategical way. And then like, oh, and if
up to you. Dovari sidles up to you and says, I like your sleeves. They're real big.
Oh, so cute.
Yes.
This is the feeling of Aaron and the feeling of Neno.
I get it, Dwight.
I believe that this form factor will be advantageous during combat. And then so
right,
what you see that the camera sort of zooming back is you see Diamondback continuing on, sort of more comfortable with his arms against his body inside of this shirt, which is like too big, and now is sort of arranged a little bit more like something you would see in Yojimbo or some other Kurosawa movie.
He's wearing it as a baggy outer tunic.
Something like that.
Okay. And then a little bit further down the trail, Yoshka comes up to Diamondback and says, listen, I'm not trying to dress you up like a doll and take you home. I know. I did lie to you. And usually I only lie to my enemies, but you are about to die. And I know you don't think so, but I thought so, and that is why. And I know now you are stuck with me and we are here. I think when we meet the old blood, well, I mean, they will not see us unless, I think if it is just me, maybe we will see one of them. But they will not meet us all. They will leave something for us. But if I am able to see the old blood, I will speak to them with you, and the work they are doing, it is, I think, perhaps a bit domestic for you. But they are looking for others like them who would resist the Iron Bell and we have heard of some more fierce group to the west. And, well, last time I spoke to them. I can ask, maybe perhaps they can send you on your way to a good place where you can meet other warriors with no shirt.
I need you to understand that the term warrior is not
Assassin. Yes.
quite correct. It's an important distinction where I come from. Warrior may be dangerous at any time, but an assassin is only dangerous to the assassin's target. You haven't seen me at my best. I was trained to fight according to a plan. And knowing the ground, having
Guys, we've
scouted
got a lot of-
beforehand.
Sorry,
got
can
an
we
echo
time out?
somewhere.
A lot of echo, a lot of keyboard.
Huh. That might be me doing the keyboard, but I was muted. Give me 1 second. Sorry. You keep going if you want. I will check.
Echo. Echo. I don't hear it anymore.
Say the second one yourself.
Hey, I'm going to mute my mic and tell me if you can... I'm going to clack on my keyboard really loudly. Tell me if you can hear it.
Oh my goodness, it's killing my earballs. They're bleeding out of my ear
I can
holes.
hear it.
They've literally burst my tympanums.
That's weird.
I can definitely hear it.
I think that's the volume up button.
It doesn't
Are you
show
sure you're
that
using the
you're
mic
muted
that
when
you think
said
you're
mute.
using?
It's the Yeti mic, which I definitely...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you're not using the Yeti mic. Your voice doesn't sound like it's coming from a good microphone.
I mean, you're muted now.
Yeah, we can't hear you right now.
Test 1 2 3. Can you hear me?
Hello, it's me, Sir Robert. You're trapped in a world so insidious that I dared to make it a world where reading stuff was really super bad. Welcome to a world without common literacy, the worst nightmare of any true philosopher.
Can you all hear me? Are you able to hear me now? Anybody?
Sorry, I think
test
your mouth
test?
is moving, but we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. You're muted in Progly.
Test.
There
Can
you
hear
go.
me?
Yep.
All right, and give me 1 second. I'm gonna look at the camera and talk when I mute my mic again. If you'll tell me if you can hear.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Josh,
Now,
which
can you hear me?
dog is
How did
this?
you have, Josh?
Crash?
Das East Bash.
Bash.
The Bastion. We call him Bash.
Matt, when we resume, you should start talking about the assassin point. That was where it got doubled.
Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna do
sound
one
like
more.
You're not.
What's that?
You sound like you're not being recorded by your webcam's
Great.
microphone anymore.
I'm going. That sounds good. Y'all feel free to tell me that. That's because I had to reset my computer. Surely I'd had the settings all messed up. Feel free to tell me that anytime, guys, if I sound really weird and crazy. I'm going to mute again. Tell me if you can see me or if you can hear me talking.
Nope.
I can't
Not
hear
right
you.
now. No.
Okay, sounds good. And I'm
No,
going to
I
clack
can't.
my keyboard when I mute. Hold on one sec.
Josh, take your headphones off.
Cannot hear it.
anything.
No clacking.
Okay, now we're set correctly. Sorry about that,
Clack.
guys.
You would have known,
Cracked.
because I would have been screaming in pain.
I'll tell you what we'll do. Let me. It is about time for our break. Do you want to finish the conversation you're in, or do you want to do the break now?
I've lost my place in the speech.
I was going to say.
I'm a true artist. I never leave the conversation. I'm always in the conversation. I'm Daniel
But,
Day-Lewis, man.
Whatever you want.
Okay, let's take our break now. Give everybody a chance to, just walk around or whatever. And when we get back, we will pick up with another conversation or the same one.
The same one. I'm not finished my speech yet.
Okay, 10
Matthew,
minutes.
if you come back wearing a shirt, I'm going to vomit. I'm literally going to throw up if you show up wearing a shirt. All right? Warning you now.
Just you wait.
All right, we are back. I'm not going to do an episode intro this time for those listening on the stream because we are not doing an episode this time. We instead are doing a clip episode or a clip show, as it were, and are letting the characters have some quality time with each other. We were right in the middle of Diamondback and Yoshka having some quality of time discussing the differences between warriors and assassins, and Diamondback was telling Yoshka how things are. Sound good? Why don't we hop in right there and just start wherever you want in it, and in post when necessary I'll clip it together to make it nice and smooth.
There's actually a distinction that's important between an assassin and a warrior. An assassin is careful. An assassin is safe 99% of the time, except to the assassin's target. Have you ever heard of a snake called the boom slang? It's the name of my uncle. I saw the Iron Bell murder him. Boom slang is brown. It hangs itself from the crotch of a tree and holds very still. And its prey mistakes it for a bare branch, wanders too close, and is struck out of nowhere by the poison bite. The boom slang has a plan. When it's in place, when it knows its territory, and it's acting according to its plan, it's a very effective hunter. Yet if you find one in the water, on the forest floor, among green leaves, not as effective. I'm afraid if I was a boom slang, you were seeing me not in my branch, acting according to my plan. And I'm sorry about that. You're probably more right than wrong about the shirt.
So, where do you belong then? Now?
I belong back at the Snake Village with my clan.
That is where you will go?
It may take some time. For now, I'm content to stay with you and whatever your plans. Clearly not capable of surviving on my own.
I must have remembered wrong. I thought you had no place to go.
Of course. Yes, there's nothing there now. The people are scared of the Iron Bell because they fear death. They fear slavery. And slavery is to be feared, but not death. Just because
Why?
they're dead doesn't mean anything necessarily.
Then, what did you run from?
Slavery. Or death. Yeah, you may have a point.
That's basically a win for Yoshka there.
I am not angry. I told you, my people, we don't stay when the Iron Bell comes. I don't want to die.
That seems an effective strategy. Perhaps in the future, the Snake Clan will adopt that same strategy.
Well, I hope you find them.
Further, any further questioning of Diamondback will reveal this this same sort of strange opinion that the other characters may or may not understand very well, but that in his mind, the Snake Clan is sort of both gone and not gone, and they're definitely coming back.
And they are necromancers.
That'll be a scene.
You're right.
Never been better.
By the way, do you, at some point, I would appreciate any recollections of yours, geographically speaking, as to the location of Slean's burial site. I'm going to need to return there before too long.
Was she... Okay. That's probably about the end of that conversation.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any specific interests and questions about anything? Here are some things.
I would absolutely.
Sorry, go for it.
I would absolutely have gone to Belvari and asked him what a nice young man like him is doing on the road and seen what he's willing to say.
Go for it. Let's do it. So at some point, it is let's call it just after. It's early afternoon. Y'all are on your way from Miradau to, if you recall, you found that very well-structured hut, ruined. It was almost a century old of ruins, but it was still in decent shape for the stone of it. That's where you met those Mirlock creatures that night. So it's about early afternoon. Y'all are on your way there. This is the first day of your 2-day journey to the spring. Neno, why don't you chat up Belvari to see what's happening with him?
First of all,
youngster, I see this
you need
dog
to pass a 21 difficulty check, investigation or something to find me. Perception.
Wait, to actually find you, I do?
He's sneaking.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Will somebody roll for me?
Sure. I'll roll a straight 20 and you can add whatever you're going to do. 15.
Do you remember your perception bonus?
No, not a clue.
How high was your wisdom?
Give me 1 sec. I'll look it up.
I don't think you find me.
Her perception is a +2.
Okay. And do y'all just want to keep rolling till Belvari doesn't sneak very well and Neno sees him? Because it's a long journey.
How interested is Neno in this conversation?
Sorry, my sound cut out. I couldn't make that out. Say it again, Dwight.
How interested is Neno in this conversation?
Yeah, how long is she going to pursue Belvari?
I mean, she could just casually keep an eye out all day.
Well until now.
And then whenever we gather back up, like at the hut or something, say it.
Just then, Neno gets
Gosh, guys, I can't hear you.
Just then, Neno gets a senior moment, and Gulb walks over and just kind of picks her up and tosses her onto the back of his backpack, and she takes a nap on his backpack.
While we're waiting for Aaron's connection, does anybody else have a conversation they'd like to do?
Go ahead.
I'd like to have one with Golb. The morning after, when he does that ritual, and he mentions a dream. I remember we were gonna swap. So I was gonna especially firstly ask you about what. So the day after the one we've just been playing, as we're heading to, as we've left the Meanlock nest, I guess.
Yeah, and this surprising copper dragon wormling thrashed about, gave Diamondback and Chimp Belvari a start as well as a wound each. Belvari's healed when he reverted from Chimp back to Belvari. And it flew out, did not hurt Yoshka, Neno, or Gulb as it emerged, but it went off wild-eyed into the forest day. It's a good opportunity because why don't we pick up with Diamondback and Belvari emerging and telling the other three what in the world just happened down there? Because what you will remember is that it was in some sort of magical, terrified night terror sleep dream situation, which is a really good segue into the dream you all had the night before. Does that sound fair? Speaking of dreams or whatever. All right, so you'll find your way back to the road. The Diamondback and Belvari make their way out of this little cramped, muddy tunnel. It wasn't like actively muddy; it just was, soil. So they're covered with more dirt, and but they get out. They have their torch with them, and somebody, I think it was Diamondback, left a fire, and there's now some smoke pouring out of the tunnel entrance as well. And why don't we pick up here? You are not far from the road. You hunted around this cabin area. You're a couple 100 feet from the road, and you can pretty easily find your way back to it. It's not a challenge at all. We'll pick up there as you emerge, no longer terrified. Remember, Diamondback, you were taking point on finding these Meanlocks by following the terror that you were feeling. You were no longer feeling that terror. Why don't you pick up from here?
Did you talk to the dragon? Did it say anything? Where is it?
No, it came flying out. Out into the woods.
I suppose that's understandable.
Real quickly, and it was clearly a wormling. It was about maybe 8 feet long-ish, not a big old dragon. So that's the size.
But I know it's a dragon.
Yeah, y'all were able to tell what it was.
Right.
Everybody was able to tell.
I suppose it's understandable, but it's a pity that it didn't stay to chat. Dragons, particularly metallic dragons, make good friends, powerful allies.
Are you crazy? That was big flying snake. He's not a dragon.
The way you described it to me, Sir Robert, I thought Gulb failed his check and just saw a big flying snake.
Oh, okay. Let's go with that then. I don't remember that detail, but I'm willing.
Yeah.
It was a big serpentine form with coppery scales, and it was there for only a moment. As it came out, halfway out of the tunnel, it thrashed about with panic in its eyes and then was gone.
Suit yourself.
But you set it free from, was it in the nightmare?
Yes, these Meanlocks, they have a nasty trick. They feed on fear, despair, terror. They ensnare the good creatures of the woods in a foul spell and cause them many nightmares and paralysis, and feed for sometimes weeks, months, depending on the strength of the creature, off of the terror. That is what they were going to do to us had we not driven them off. I've purged the den. The smoke is just thick black smoke is roiling out of. I've purged it with fire. I believe that this location will no longer be a problem.
Well, very good.
It is a pity. It is a pity we didn't get the dragon's name. Oh well.
I can understand. I had a nightmare. If he has been having nightmares so many days, oh, he must run. Did you not have a nightmare last night of the Meanlocks?
Or is Yoshka talking to Gulb right now?
I guess he'll just look around at anybody with him.
I had a
No.
short, strange dream that didn't have much meaning to me.
Now, and let me interject as a DM, third person omniscient on this. None of you were scared by the dream, but there were elements in the dream that something like in your memory should be scary. For example, the fire in the forest. But you generally woke up feeling refreshed and ready. There's a certain amount of dissonance as you think back on it, but it didn't actually cause you terror.
Gold has his highest score is wisdom, and he's trained as a cleric. So, and I already kind of made a point of later saying stuff. So, I guess I don't need to give commentary. I can just speak in character. Gold looks up at Yoshka from fiddling with his doll that he's holding in his hands, and he says,
I had dream last night. I had a dream of fire coming on the forest. Something is coming down. Something is coming among us, and it will fill the forest and bring it to fire. Maybe not real fire, but something will consume this place. I do not want Davina in the forest when the fire comes.
Oh, that one?
What do you mean, that one?
Ah.
You dream of fire in the forest.
Okay.
Do you see the fireflies when you dream? See them impossible high?
Yes. Let me try this. I had a dream last night that I think will make... I had the fire dream, but it was days ago. Let me see if I can do this.
How did the fire start? Did it begin from a spark? Did it begin from what?
And Yoshka says, if you will, see what this does. And Yoshka starts singing this song. And I can sing the actual lyrics to you or not, but so how should I present this?
I think you should sing the lyrics, my man.
Maybe I'll say first, let me tell you the dream I had last night. The Meanlocks, they were all around. They chased me up a tree, and they were coming up the tree, and the tree lady, one of the branches, she grabbed me, and she held me up so they couldn't get me, and she was singing to me. Do you remember how she was singing to us? They were singing in the woods?
I did not see her in my dream.
No, when we were awake, we were all walking through the woods and we heard the song.
Yes, I remember the music.
In my dream, she was holding me again, and she was singing the song to me, and I knew she was saying something to me, but I did not know what, and I tried and tried to understand, but I could find nothing. And then, when I gave up, it began to sink in, and I saw she was teaching me a song that, how do I say? She taught me a song I can always sing, no matter what song I am singing. Now, let me try it with this song. You have heard this one before, but let's see if it is different this time. The black of the night makes the fireflies bright, floating and twinkling around. The great trees bend and part their leaves, and what do you think is found? A second sky so vast and wide, a night of deepest blue, with more fireflies that move nor blink, whose light is steady and true. To see them, is to be a child again. They put a twinkle in my eye, a light that is steady and true. A fire, the harsh devouring light, climbing up the great trunks, burn to the ground the night. So that's the song. And then if you guys will, roll a wisdom check.
That was a great song, Jared.
It was fantastic.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah?
For post on that, if you'll strum me some music, I'll put it under it as he sings.
Sure.
Gulb got an 18.
Looking at a 15 for Diamondback.
I'll need somebody to roll me.
Aaron got a 7.
Oh, I
Plus-
want to know things. Too bad.
Wait, sorry, plus whatever. What was it a check for, Diamondback? I mean, Yoshka?
Oh, wisdom.
I think you're a +2,
Sounds right.
so a 9.
And I don't know, are you there, Dwight?
I'll roll for him.
Okay, cool.
Huh.
17.
Oh, he rolled for
You
him.
don't need to roll for me.
That was better than the one I rolled.
Okay, so you guys hear Diamondback, Gulb, and Belvari just hear the song, but Neno gets, it's almost kind of like a vision. The words become really vivid, and she starts to see this scene, the one that a number of us had a dream of the first time. Except
I think Gulb would allow himself to see it. I think most effects like this, it's contested if you want to contest it, but if you want to give into it. So
Well,
I think Gulb lets it happen.
Then your experience would be you feel this pulling in the music that reminds you of what the tree lady was doing. But this time you don't pull back and you come in and you see fireflies around you. You see the opening up above and the unmoving fireflies. And you see it's not, and having actually had the first dream, you can see it's not exactly the part about the glyph is missing, and there's one other part you think might be missing, but it's like some selective curation of the actual dream that you had.
It's also really weird because like my perspective is like a 1.5 feet lower, closer to the ground. Really bizarre.
Also, just to
Jared-
let you know, you all had different lengths of the dream. I think Gulb had the dream for the longest.
And then
Jared, just a quick cosmological note. In this world, not in the world of the forest where you can't see the stars, but in in the world of the Starfall Collective, the stars actually do move, like visibly and slowly during the course of a night. They move from east to west,
which is hilarious because here's Yoshka singing about a light that is fixed and stable. That's
I
so
mean,
funny.
if you only see them, I think they move slowly enough. I'm not sure what we had decided for this, but I think they move slowly enough that if you only saw them for a couple of minutes, you might not notice the movement from left to right. But but yeah, it's not quite like stars on Earth.
Okay. Cool. Well, maybe
I love
since
it.
it was
But your song still stood. It was you sang what you sang, and that error can be in there, or perception, or memory, or anything else. It was a great song, and it's canon.
It's canon.
Cool.
It was amazing, is what it was.
and also, let's see, Neno, Belvari passed it. Neno and Gulb, just for about an hour after the song, you maybe some parts of the hour after the song, you notice yourself feeling this unusually strong affection for Yoshka.
You dog. I think because Gulb let himself fall into it, he might even be aware, and I think he's okay with it. I mean, it was a beautiful song. As you'll recall, Gulb actually also was singing to himself in Orcish. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah.
Do I notice that they're charmed as we're walking along?
I guess the way I would continue on is say, the tree lady in the dream, could you hear her in that? Did anything happen?
I did not speak to the tree lady in the dream.
Diamondback, roll a perception check.
When I sang the song, could you
hang on one sec? We got to finish the thread and we can jump right back to it. Hang on one sec.
6. That's your DC. Roll a perception check.
That was a perception check.
Yeah, that's your DC to see if you notice they're charmed. Roll a perception check.
Beat a 6, man. Gulb is very obviously staring at and smiling at Yoshka, and is like looking at him where normally Gulb would be like just kind of looking ahead, plodding along, looking around. He's staring at Yoshka.
You do notice, Matt. Diamondback.
Are you all right?
Could you feel? Could you hear?
Isn't this a beautiful song?
Could you feel? Could you hear the tree ladies in that song?
I do not remember any tree lady. There was the fireflies in the sky. There was the light.
He says in Orcish the word for when lightning flashes, and he's like,
I don't know word.
And he looks over at Belvari. He looks around for Belvari. Can I make a perception check to see if I notice Belvari?
Do it, but you're really enthralled by the song, so take a -2 on it.
Okay.
Belvari, roll your stealth.
Nuts!
Belvari critically failed. Just pokes his eye in a tree as he tries to jump behind it.
All right. Gulb got a total of 4.
Okay, so let me narrate what happened. Sorry, you want to, Belvari? Go for it.
Oh, no. You go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I mean, you said you critically failed, but what was your total score, if I may ask?
1.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Gulb at least got a 4. So
was that 4 after your -2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you really succeeded. Okay. So You are glancing around. Gulb's glancing around, and he can't see Belvari anywhere. And then, right where he's looking, Belvari simultaneously jumps as though to go behind a tree, sticks his face and pokes himself in the eye with like a pine cone as he trips over a root, reaching out, grabbing for a branch, twirls and falls to the ground, and lays there stealthily.
And then his pants fall down.
That's right.
While he's laying on the ground.
Oh, good
And his
kid.
dog comes up to him and licks his face, not stealthily.
I think Gulb walks over to him and like goes to pick him up. I think if you make some sort of contested check, I'm sure you can prevent this from happening. Otherwise, Gulb is going to pick you up on your feet and set you down and say,
Did you have the dream with the fireflies and the fireflies and the fire?
I don't really remember dreams, but I sort of have a picture of fireflies.
I hope the gods are speaking to us, because if it is not the gods, this is very bad.
Meanwhile, Diamondback has sort of poked Neno a little bit. If she's there, if Aaron Joy is there, and he says, "Are you drunk?"
Oh, I haven't been drunk in 40 years, kiddo.
What has happened to your attitude? Changed very suddenly. Your mood.
Didn't the song make you feel like this too?
It was a fine song, as songs go, I suppose.
Yeah. She has no interest in being coaxed out of it. She's content to just wander along happily.
I think that Diamondback is obsessed with magic, but I think that in his whole life, magic has always been components. And I think that he is very unlikely to put it together that this was a magic spell, if this was a magic spell, because I didn't see any components.
Was this a magic... Sorry, real quickly. Was this a magic spell?
Oh, yeah, was it?
You can't cast magic without components.
This was... Okay, so I leveled up that night when we slept, and I got enthralling performance as a bardic thing.
Okay.
I can read you the first line of it. Starting at 3rd level, you can charge your performance with seductive fey magic.
Okay. Here's what I'll let you do, Yoshka. That's total. I'm cool with that. Belvari actually has a similar thing for turning into creatures because he's a druid, which is a magical thing, right?
And Gulb has it with lightning.
Yeah, Gulb has used it with lightning. And for each of them, what they do with these kind of abilities, you can use any magical component to make it happen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You're basically using the magic from that. So just go to your pouch, take out, pick a component that you're just like, I'll just use this one, and it becomes that. Does that sound good?
Does it need to have related?
Yeah, probably something in the same vein. I think I did that with Gulb as well. He takes some kind of lightning electrical-ish thing. I didn't realize that when you were talking with Griffith the other day, singing at Griffith's pack. But same basic thing. And if you should use some kind of like bardly component that's
maybe something
close.
From the same school of magic as like the charm spells are from.
Yeah, charm, something like that, and you'll use that kind of magic. And what your spell ability is, the one you just got. Your kind of natural ability or whatever is to use that kind of magic through you that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
In that case, Diamondback, after examining Neno a little bit, will go to Yoshka and say, what's the name of that spell? I have never heard of or seen that spell. What components are used for it?
Well, okay, I'm gonna have to shift my world here. So I don't think I would have done it to you guys if it required components. I was operating under this this assumption that it was like finding the magic inherent in words or something like that.
Okay. In this world, there's no magic inherent in anything. It all comes from the mist.
Okay.
I mean, not the whole world, but in your environment that you're in.
And just so you know, Jared, all you need is like a friend's cantrip.
Yeah,
component,
anything.
which is low level enchantment. Friends or vicious mockery.
Yeah. I
Speak with animals.
Ouch. Ouch.
You know, it's all kind of that like communicating stuff.
Right, but I think Jared is saying that his motivation for doing that scene at all was a misunderstanding of the rules that the game was operating.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey,
Because
So I was
you wanted it to
imagining-
be natural. You mean?
my whole imagining of my character was like I basically just took from some me stuff that was like he was interested in the power inherent in words, and so it's kind of like an artsy thing.
yeah.
If with using some magic in it, it's more like I just offhand I imagine that would be I would use that more like a weapon.
If you
And so yeah.
Okay, if you want to use the power, I should say, inherent in words, which is real in this world, the way you do that is with a persuasion check or an intimidation check, and you have the ability to weave that and get your will through the words that way. Persuasion, performance, deception, or just charisma, just using your charisma that way. If you want to do magical oomph into it, you would be doing something where, like in this, you're making your words imbued with more than their inherent power.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The other thing about that is, and just this is a little bit of probably helpful, I might as well just canonize this little tidbit here that you would all actually you probably wouldn't know this, but it's sort of baked into your worldview, which is so this is for the players who have seen season 1 and season 2. There is magic in the world, right, that does not come from this forest. However, there's so much magic all around you all the time. Why would anybody ever have even discovered the hard route, as it were? Does that make sense? Right? It's just dripping off the trees, and so components are not scarce. You can get them all over the place. As a matter of fact, we're going to do an encounter in just a minute in which there's some components. So that is to say, the idea of enhancing any natural ability is because, with the forest's bounty, we can do that. There's magic. So
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
Finish your scene if y'all will, and when you're ready, what time is it? We'll wrap up actually after about this scene, but I have one sort of bonus non-violent encounter for us.
Cool.
Go for it.
Oh, I have one thing I want to do real quick.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's finish this scene. We'll do Belvari, and then we'll do my thing.
So I think Yoshka just got done singing, and we just got done kind of talking about all this stuff. And I think Gulb is just kind of gushing with enthusiasm for Yoshka and his music. And he says,
I tried to make song too of the dream. Maybe we can sing it together.
and he tries to he starts, singing in orc and beating his chest. And you see that he kind of squares up and gets actually kind of serious about it. And it looks like he's doing something that he's done before. There's something kind of culturally rigid about what he's doing, and he tries singing to you in Orcish. Do you know any Orcish at all, Yoshka? Yeah. So I think it just like goes horribly bad, and it's just kind of awkward, and he's so excited that nothing really even comes through, and we can camera drag away from that.
Okay.
Sounds good. Gulb gets really into it, and in the same way that Sleen participated in Yoshka's earlier performance, she's just outclassed by Yoshka's performance ability, and so is Gulb this time. But surely Yoshka comes in and rescues Gulb from any kind of embarrassment.
Exactly.
Cool. Is that a... Go ahead, Yoshka. Did you want to say something else? Jared?
No. I think this whole interaction would have gone quite differently if I was aligned with the world.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna have to refactor my character here.
Okay. Sure. Sounds good. I'll treat it gingerly then, if in post, if we include parts of it. I think it was a really good interaction. If you're concerned about the scarcity of items at all, you can just have it as a freebie, and we'll say that you had one, and I'll give you a free one, and then you just use that one. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not concerned about that. It just seemed like you're doing something with the mist that I was not. That's like important, but I was oblivious to.
Okay. Player Jared hadn't seen that, rather than Yoshka.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And then Belvari, Dwight, why don't you go with what you were going to do?
Just while we're walking along and Belvari is trying to avoid having questions asked to him, he also would like to make maybe an Arcana check on this medallion that he found in his component pouch.
Sure. Are you going to mention it to anybody or anything?
Oh, definitely not.
Okay. Let me have you roll a. I'm gonna actually. How much attention do you want to put to that? How long do you want to spend as you're walking through the woods for a couple of days? How much are you going to be doing that?
Anytime he senses that no one is looking at him, he would be kind of looking at it.
Then roll for me. Let's see. What's the right thing?
Maybe even with his hand like in his pouch, like not looking at it, but feeling it, things like that.
Okay, sounds good. Roll for me. Let me pull up. Let's see. Belvari had a very different encounter of the Dryads than everybody else. So let's do. There it is. Sorry, I had to pull up this sheet. I'm going to have you roll me a couple of different rolls here, Belvari. Will you do let's do a nature check first. Let me get a DC here. Okay, I got it.
That was a 14.
Okay. You can tell that, first of all, the fact that it's made of what it's made of is curious and strange to you. You can tell that there's more to it than a coin, for example, but you're not sure what, and that spurs you on to do an Arcana check. Roll me one of those.
Oh, it was almost on a 1, then it fell over to 13, so 14.
14 again, okay. As you kind of finger this in your in the pouch, you've got your fingers kind of twiddling it. You find that you feel a sort of tickle in your mind, is the best you can describe it. I'll describe it to you, Dwight, not Belvari, as sort of like licking a 9-volt, but mild. It's just on your fingers. Yeah, and you have to pay attention to it to notice that.
Gotcha.
And to Belvari, it's not pointed. It feels like it almost like it's prickling or something, but you can tell it's not like it's actually smooth. but it feels almost like it's got little tiny points on it. You can't exactly understand what it is, and they don't seem to be consistent. So you don't know what to make of that, but it's definitely doing something. Go ahead and roll me a religion check.
Okay. It's intelligence based. Okay, there's a 3.
Okay. You don't think it has anything to... You're not like thinking of this as related to any sort of religious or divine thing. A 3, right? You're just like, I guess it's not anything like that. And then I think the last thing I'm looking for is an insight check. And this one will... Let me think here. Okay, yeah, an insight check.
Okay. 18.
Did you say 18?
Yeah.
Okay. You think that if you spent an hour-ish, a good long time, sort of like the way you would do with a component where you chew a component and you kind of grok it sort of deeply that way, you ingest and knead it in your fingers and stuff. If you put a good hour of your full attention to it, you could use it similarly to the pendant, which is to say you have to attune to it. And you think it's probably works like that. It's like something that you could bond to, kind of in the same way that you did with the pendant, and you may have with other things in your life. You think it might be a magical-ish coin pendant thing.
Gotcha. Let me see real quick. Do I have a... no, I don't have one. I was looking to see if I had like a detect good and evil sort of spell, but I don't.
Okay. Does that sound good? Are you all set?
Yep.
All right. So let's do one last thing. It is 10:05. This will only take a few minutes here, but I just have like a DM's.
Hey, sorry,
kind of...
not for me, but we kind of put pause on Erin because she was out of bandwidth.
That's true.
Erin, are you back? And did you want to take advantage of the fact that Belvari rolled a 1 and Gulb picked him up and put him down on his feet in front of you?
I do, but I'm also okay waiting for another day because I have miles to go before I sleep.
Okay. Well, let's do this.
Don't sleep. There's snakes.
Let's do this. So...
I did plan ahead, though, that the way I'm going to try and coax info out of Belvari if he doesn't just answer questions is I'm going to make up slightly insulting and ridiculous stories about Belvari and ask his dog just until I needle him into correcting.
Nice.
I'm not the runt of my family, or whatever he would say.
Yeah, right.
Let's see if that works.
Surely when he fell on the ground, Neno capitalized on that.
Yeah, when he rolled down a tree and fell onto the ground.
And wet himself.
That's right.
Oh.
Okay, so y'all are walking along, and this is the day before the Meanlock. So it's the day between Miradau and the hut that you found, the kind of little very ruined hamlet. Y'all are walking along, and as I mentioned, Gary had mentioned that they know that the great tree near them is a willow tree. And not everybody knows where the nearest great tree is because they're just gigantic. But if you recall, when you were... a couple of you slipped down a little ravine, splashed around in some water, I think Gulb maybe, and Diamondback. And this is before you got to the Dryads. If you recall, you kind of passed through almost like a veil of hanging leaves and things. And it was this wall that just went as far as you could see in either direction and hung a little bit off the ground. Some of it was above the level you could see, but you could see it breaking through that was the edge of this great willow. You are still under its boughs, and you can tell that it's dimmer here, and it looks in the same kind of way that you've been recognizing for a while now. So one of the things about these great trees is when people do find them, they have a lot of rumor built up around them, which the Iron Bell don't like. They don't like rumor walking blazing among anyone. But these trees are quite strange because they're so huge. And, as would normally happen, speculation and gossip and ideas and myth and lore build up around things like that. You still have not seen this great tree. You are sure from the things that you certainly never heard that these trees are thousands, are 1,000 feet tall or more, and produce this upper canopy way above. You've definitely seen the upper canopy sometimes through a break in the lower canopy. Well, what that means is in the region of a great tree where the trunk is known to be somewhere, which you don't know where this one is, but according to Gary, you're near it. There are sometimes people go out in some desperation because there are rumors like the great tree has, something that can defeat the Iron Bell or can save your grandmother from, arthritis or whatever, right? Like there's snake oil salesman type of people and some unscrupulous wayfarers and things like that. So it is not uncommon to find people it is uncommon, but it's not rare to find people who are trying to get something from that. As a matter of fact, you will recall that Orden was going towards the Great Willow when he was captured by the Orcish slavers. And that was one of the reasons. He's a 14-year-old boy. Garriott assumes he must have heard something about these great trees that sent him running. But Garriott did not reveal what that was, if that was the case. So, as you're going, I would like each of you, please, to roll me a perception check.
Eesh. 5.
Okay.
Poor.
Yoshika got a 21.
And Gold got a 6, as poorly as he can possibly do.
Okay.
Wow.
Sorry, so did you roll a 1?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay. And Aaron Joy, I will roll for you.
Thanks.
And you got a something that I don't have readily available because I don't have your sheet. Give me a sec.
+2.
+2. So you got a 7. Belvari, what'd you get?
12.
12, okay. Yoshka rolls a 21, and Gulb rolls, or I guess your characters, and Gulb has a 1. Suddenly, to everyone's surprise, Yoshka doesn't shout, but he kind of startles and says, "What's that?" And Gulb, who's facing the opposite direction, says, "I see it too." Except he says it how do I?
I see it too.
And he's pointing at a tree.
Yeah.
There's a monkey hanging out of a tree.
That's right. I see it too. It's a pine cone or whatever. And
Sure. Yeah.
Yoshka.
It's so beautiful.
He's staring up at it.
That's right. And Yoshka says, no, and gently turns Gulb around by the shoulder.
I think Gulb tries to jump and swat to grab it, and he's like, "What? Oh."
Yeah. Yoshka leads you a little bit off the path, not too far. You can all see something a little bit funny over there. And basically, you see a curious sight. There is what looks to be a plant, but you think it's now actually not a plant as you get closer. It has a long kind of vine-like tendril coming down, and that tendril has wrapped around the hind quarters of some kind of wild cat that you can't readily recognize, like a tiger or puma or something like that, bobcat it could have been, and that creature, that animal, has in its mouth the neck of a person. All three of them are dead.
A magic component turducken.
That's right. That's right.
It's more like a Cathurkin because of all the vines. You know, it's like the octopus stuck up inside.
That's right. The hand of the person, the dead person who's been killed by this wildcat, has very clearly got a weapon in it that has reached up and is lodged halfway into the tendril that's come down, so that the person has killed the tendril. The tendril has killed the wildcat has killed the person, and they're hanging just a few feet above the ground in this morbid sort of macabre eternal puppet show. So,
And it's a metal sword?
no, it's like just a regular, probably bone-edged weapon that has just chopped into it. Not enough to cut it off, so it wasn't like really sharp, but it killed it. And they've killed each other and are just hanging there in a terrible, terrible marionette of a sort. Well, I'll call it this: a marionette diorama of the entire wood. So
Golb looks down at Mima, and he says,
Mima, do you want to see closer?
Yes, please.
and Golb reaches down, picks her up, sets her on his shoulder, and kind of walks over so she's even higher up than he is, so she can inspect the scene.
And it's they're hanging about 5 feet off the ground, 6 feet, so it's where you can all walk around it and see this scene. Now, here's what you see. The cat seems to be nothing in particular, and they seem to have, it's a cat of some kind. It's been dead for a while, moldering. Same with the leathery tendril that's coming down, and the person also has been, the meat has, long kind of torn and fallen some. But he seems to be surprisingly well dressed for somebody out here. You don't know what he is. He does not have any usable armor or anything. It has been ripped by this creature. But what he does have is a backpack in poor shape, hanging down, and some components, it looks like, wrapped in what are commonly used leaves, paper kind of things, have spilled out. The ones on the ground seem to have been destroyed by weather or rain or something like that. But the backpack does not seem to be empty. Yoshka, you notice it and walk. Yeah. What'd you say?
Belvari would like to make maybe a survival check to see if they're still in danger from any sort of tendrils coming down from above.
Okay, that's a great idea. Roll for me a survival check. Actually, yeah, survival check's good.
11.
11.
11.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gulp, Josh.
I was saying, Golb would like to, if this is the time to make checks, Golb would like to just kind of scan the situation. He's high on perception or insight, so if he can read the situation with perception.
And Nemo would flip down the veil and look for magic anywhere.
Okay, and remember in your inventory to use one of its charges when you do that.
So should I make a perception check, Sir Robert?
Make a perception check.
13.
Yoshiko is the first one who saw it, and I'll describe the results of your checks in a second. But Yoshiko is the first one who saw it and walked towards it, not witlessly, but he wasn't scared. Especially, he was taking cautious movement. But they're all clearly dead. Those three things. Belvari, you look around. You don't see any other tendrils. The tendril, the sort of vine thing, seems out of place, and you don't see others of its kind. It appears to be some sort of creature that was laying in wait, like Venus flytrap-ish kind of deal, caught something, and it was a strange happenstance. Gulb, as you look around, nothing especially catches your eye, except for now this does, and also that really neat pine cone you haven't quite forgotten. And reminiscent of some berries Diamondback once saw.
He clocks that pine cone at his 6 and keeps scanning.
That's right. And Neno, as you don this veil, you look around and you actually do see a bit. Well, first of all, you see two things. One is the forest floors got this rolling, sort of slightly roiling mist. It always does, but it's a little denser than it was yesterday to your recollection, or this morning when you set out, just a little bit. And also a little bit of a swirling around the backpack that the guy has, the tattered sort of old backpack. You don't know how long they've been there. It's long enough that they're not all fully skeletal, but are, somewhat skeletal, and the meat's not fresh. It's all kind of rancid. Not a whole lot of odor anymore.
I think Gold puts down Meemaw and pulls the person with his pack out. He extricates it from the situation and hands the component pouch to Diamondback, and starts pulling out the contents of the backpack and handing him to Yoshka and Belvari and Meemaw to analyze.
Okay.
I think the three ladies have left us a gift.
This is an ugly gift to leave, but thank you.
So, Diamondback, do you receive the component pouch?
Yeah. I begin going through it. I catalog it, and I put it into the group component pouch.
So let me just tell you really quickly what's in it, and at a high level. Diamondback, you actually find that as you're going through it, well, first of all, you find some, in general, Neno, Belvari, Yoshka, there are some rancid rations that are not of any use to you. You do find collectively 2 torches that are still of some usable value. And there's not really anything else meaningful in it aside from, little bits of a little bit of rope that's not going to be helpful to you. It's old and, not a lot of it. It's a decent adventuring pack, but yours is just as good and not gross.
If anybody doesn't have torches, they should take them.
That's true.
I have some.
If anybody doesn't, or Yoshka, if everybody has some, you may want to, since you have something that works with torches, that may be something you're interested in.
Right. Otherwise, yeah, Yoshka should get them.
Diamondback, you look in the pouch and you actually see several loose components that are just wrapped like in a leaf the way they normally would be that you need to investigate. But you actually find that you've seen this before. Other people have done this. It's a relatively common practice, but mostly with people who kind of know what they're doing. So it's not something that you just see all the time, which is you see bundles of components that are apparently bundled together. And there are wrapped up in little folded origami style little bits of paper. And what you recognize is this is how people keep more complex spells at the ready. So
I would be very familiar with this.
Yeah, so they'll have a set of several spells together that they could crush at a time, and even though they may have other spells on the components, they seem to be ready to use for one particular spell on all of the components. You find bundles of 4. There are 4 components in each of these little bundles, and I'm just telling you from a. Sorry, so go ahead.
Wow, I said.
Yeah, and they're bundles of 4, and what this is, you find several of them that were made and readied, and also Diamondback, you see what you believe to be a dialect of the script, the sort of symbol kind of glyph language that is used to identify spells, written on the paper in the folded way that it is. You'll notice that it's, to look for this. Somebody else would miss it. It looks like scratches on them, but if you unfold the paper a little bit, the way it was written across multiple folds of paper. And so if you unfold it, it doesn't look like writing, but if you know how to fold it, it bears a sort of glyph on it that could identify. Go ahead.
It's not the Snake Village alphabet that I know. It's some other alphabet. It's similar.
it's similar enough. It's kind of almost a common one among the kinds of people you are. It's how you check. It's in the same vein as how you check to see if other people are like-minded with you. It's similar enough that you can actually decipher what is written for each component. This is a little bundle of X, bundle of Y. You don't know
Excellent.
the other spells that might be on it, but you see what it was bundled for. Good.
Great.
From a out of character perspective for each of you, I am giving each of you 2 bundles of level 3 spells suited to each of you.
Fun.
Oh, nice.
Here they are.
Wow.
You ready?
In the words of Owen Wilson, Mountain Lion, wow.
Great. That was probably this mountain line. So here's what you find. First of all, you find a set of components that are in Diamondback. You can read these out to them and let everybody choose which ones they want. You find 2 packets that you recognize as a level 3 spell called Meld into Stone. And what this does, it's sort of like Belvar. It's a camouflage hiding spell. It's sort of like Tree Stride. If you find a piece of stone that's a little bit bigger than you basically step into the stone and are completely indistinguishable from the stone. Except for magical means, somebody might be able to detect you, but it just looks like a rock face. You step into it, and everything you're carrying is just hidden all the way in the stone. If the stone is broken while you're in it, you take damage, and significant damage. If it's completely shattered while you're in it, you take a lot of damage. But it's a great way to get away from somebody. If you just run to a boulder, slip behind it, and meld into the boulder, for example, you will not be able to be found by non-magical means of search. So that's one of them. Diamondback, you can convey that to everybody.
I do so.
And you find so there are 2 of those. There's 2 of each of these. You find 2 little bundles of a spell that you recognize as called Tiny Hut.
Oh, nice.
It is a spell that creates a little extra dimensional hut that you can stay in for a while. And in that hut, you would know you are not in a normal space of the forest, and creatures, normal forest creatures can't, get into that hut. It's sort of like a safe place to stay in an emergency. It does not last all night. I believe they're 8 hours, if I'm not mistaken, but 8 hours is a lot better than 0. You find 2.
Importantly, it's a long rest.
It is. That's right. It's a long rest. And when you're in that tiny hut, nothing can get in through. No creature from the forest or Iron Bell or anybody can just kind of walk in. Right? It's not a hut in the normal spatial sense.
Yeah. We can look up the spell descriptions too.
Yeah, do that. The third thing you find is 2 bundles of a spell that is called Speak with Plants.
Very good.
Which is what you think it is.
Beck used to use that one.
That's right.
Who he makes some good friends too. Down by the swamp, down by the bayou, man, dang, yeah, man, some pretty cool trees to talk to.
Great. You find also, and this is the last one, you find 2 of each of these, 2 little bundles, and the rest of you, when Diamondback pulls this one out last, you see his eyebrow arch and a glint in his eye, because he has found 2 bundles of Animate Dead.
Let's hear it, Matt.
This is...
I just want to see the eyebrow.
This is a spell, just to give you a brief summary, that if you find a corpse or a skeleton, you can animate it into a temporarily reliving kind of undead creature, a zombie, a skeleton, who will do your bidding and is very much not as dead as it was. Along with those, you find a scattering of unbound, seemingly unbound components, which I will copy into the group party, the party pouch, party pouch. I will put it in just a second. Oops, wrong one.
Well, I think that Diamondback is going to hand out the. I've typed these in as castable bundle into my sheet, but I think Diamondback would hand the Meld into stone, the 2 castable bundles of Meld into stone.
Mm-hmm.
Probably give those to Belvari, who likes to hide.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to hide.
Or you give one of them to Neno because Neno's not as good at it. Well,
Oh,
I don't
there's
know.
only
So he gives them to Belvari. What else?
Okay.
You can trade later.
Yeah, and then right, I have to leave somebody out because I keep animate dead.
Oh, there are 5 of them.
Right.
Sorry.
I think when you start handing them out, Thack is not looking at you expecting to receive anything. He's doing something else. So you get 0 visual bodily cues from Thack that he's expecting. From Gulb. Sorry, what did I say?
Thack.
You said Thack. Thack is my character, Josh.
Listen here, puny little man. I'm the only orc around here. So if I'm Thack today, I'm Thack today.
I'm just kidding. Gulb is not interested.
Hey, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, maybe next episode, Deadfine you could think of like a deathbed haiku that you are so excited you recite.
Maybe. That's a good idea. So Robert, were you going to give us a 5th one?
I was, and I am right now. Give me 1 sec.
Okay, so Belvari has Meld into stone, and Diamondback is keeping animate dead. But and what you guys are treated to an impromptu lecture on the mechanics of the origami involved in folding this particular kind of contraption. That you have to learn a different origami folding pattern for a level 3 spell versus a level 4 spell because there's different numbers of components that go into each one. And so he sort of explains how it's folded, and the way you cast it is there's like a tab. There's a particular little tab. It's not marked, but you like pull on this tab and the whole thing sort of collapses the components all together and then dumps it like into your hand all at once. So it's
cool.
it's very convenient, but it'll hold together in your pouch. It won't mix with anything else. It'll it's like a fancy water bomb origami contraption. And you get all the theory on it. You're hearing all this, and this is the best way to store these and the right paper for it. And I'm showing you, like, in my pouch, I've got different kinds of paper at different sizes that you would use for folding. It's all very nerdy. Like, you get the idea that Diamondback's favorite thing is to prepare for combat that's going to happen.
I want to hear your lecture on like how 127 years ago there was this crazy guy who tried to come up with the whole system to stack them vertically instead, and the first time he tripped and fell on a root, they all collapsed and blew up, and no one has ever tried this vertical stacking method again.
He accidentally cast a spell that opened a portal to the plane of fire and vaporized a mile radius of forest. Was never heard from again. We still don't know which particular components created that spell.
Well, we should probably wrap it up because Aaron Joy still has miles to go before she sleeps.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That's what meth's for. Remember, kids, just a little bit of meth. Just kidding.
Family
That's a joke.
podcast.
It's a joke. It's a joke. That's a terrible. Kids, no one should ever touch meth. It's horrible stuff. It's ruined the lives of many people with whom I am friends. Please don't ever touch it.
There is the fifth component that you can hand out, Matt.
Yeah.
There are 2 of each of these, as I said, and this one is 2 of the spell Daylight.
Oh, yes.
Daylight.
Who wants that?
Say it again.
Who wants that? And who wants Tiny Hut and who wants Speak with Plants? I think Gulb should have Tiny Hut, and Yoshka should have Speak with Plants, and Neno should have Daylight.
Okay.
I'm really glad we have Daylight with this night that we are expecting.
And Tiny Hut.
And Tiny Hut.
Tiny Hut may be very useful.
And Daylight gives you can read about it later, but I'll just tell you, a 60-foot sphere around you of daylight and 60 feet beyond that of dim light for a full hour.
I love it. Finding this guy who is going out into the conditions that we're going out into means that we find spells that he prepared to be prepared for the conditions for which we need to be prepared. So,
yeah,
hontou ni domo arigatou
these are
gozaimasu.
very useful.
And they weren't enough.
Diamondback is going to Diamondback, seeing that this guy has prepared all these spells in this specific way, he's going to check to see if he knows this person or if this person has anything distinctive that would make him seem like part of the Snake Clan.
Roll me a history check.
Here goes. 6 + 4 is 10.
He's a little too far dead for you to recognize him.
Okay.
And you don't see any real meaningful symbols or shapes. He has no skin left meaningfully. It's tattered, whatever, shriveled. And also...
Got nice clothes.
What's that?
Got nice clothes.
He does. He has decent clothes that are also torn up. He is wearing clothes. So, there's that. And the backpack was not, decorated in any way that you could tell.
So Gulb has taken the backpack and has tried to scrape as much, if there's gunk and stuff, he's tried to get it down to the level of as close to the leather without washing it with soap and water to be able to tell whether it's mendable or salvageable or able to be used to make side packs. He has leather working as a toolkit and a proficiency. So is this the kind of thing that he could maybe get some sort of salvageable leather out of, or can he save the pack?
Yeah, you can save the pack. It's not going to be able to be used the mend spell because it's got missing chunks, holes. But you might be able to get some usable, stuff out of it. So yeah, stick it in there as basically as a small animal worth of leather.
Okay.
Cool. Like a rabbit sized when I say small.
And Gulb, as the religious person there, is going to say,
"Do we have a minute to lay him to rest?"
And yeah, y'all.
1 minute.
Yeah, you take time and you put him a cairn on him, similarly to what you have done with a fallen friend before, and this one you leave there. You take apart the sort of spectacle of the hanging vine tendril thing and the animal. Gulb, you've already broken its jaw open. It comes off at the jaw when you let the guy out who collapsed to the ground. And you can get back on the road and get on your way. That's where we will end tonight. We will pick up next week. And for those of you who heard next week, and also for you guys, just to wrap up this little bit, we're going to pick up at the... after the spring that they went through to get into the slave pen / town. I don't know exactly why, but it didn't occur to me to do a one-shot like this until after the end of last episode. And last episode was a little bit lame because I said at the very end that was one part that was lame because I was like, just go through the gate, because of the pressure I felt to get the character introduced, and I didn't want to miss him the next one, blah, blah, blah. The important thing is I reworked the I reworked the sort of slave pen village thing. So we're going to pick up actually with you emerging from the water of the spring and redo that, and it's different than last time, so you're not just going through the same gate and doing the same thing. You should stop and actually investigate. We're rewinding about 10 minutes of game time and about the same amount of narrative time here, and we're just going to forget that ever happened because it didn't. What didn't? I can't remember. And we will redo from you emerging from the spring in the sort of squalid cesspool fountain that the slaves drink from.
I'm very good at forgetting. Don't ask me what I've already forgot.
Deal. Well, good. Thank you all. Thank you, players, and thank you, listeners, and thank you, future donors. Have a great night, and I hope all of you survive your own personal dying of the light. I know that I haven't. Bye.